Hello, welcome. I'm Judy Utall. I am the head of the Autism and Entertainment Work Group, and I am really thrilled to have you all here today to hear or participate in a really exciting webinar with our friends, the production team of Carl the Collector, which is a brand new PBS KIDS animated series. And we're just so fortunate to have had them reach out to us and want to be a part of the whole autism and entertainment experience. So I will get going and looking forward to all of you participating today. So just if this is your first time visiting Autism and Entertainment, I wanted to tell you a little bit about us. Our mission is to increase work-ready autistic talents ability to be employed in the entertainment industry. And that means having the employers expand their priorities to include neurodiverse hiring, to consider the autism brand as a strong brand in the entertainment space. Autism has a great brand in tech, but not so much in other areas. And so part of what we're doing is doubling down because we see that this ability to think differently and focus and all sorts of skills that the folks on the spectrum bring are really led themselves well in the entertainment space. There's a lot of government programs that are designed to help employers and hire. And so we try to make sure that those employers are aware of some of the internships and on-the-job training and resources that are available definitely here in California through the Regional Center and Department of Rehab. And so by facilitating that, we hope to increase employment. And then for you folks out there who are on the spectrum pursuing a career, giving you opportunities to get a taste for what a career is like, and then also to help you navigate your career. So we try to have webinars like today to enable that. I feel like I fit into the PBS model here because I'm going to now talk a little bit about membership, which we know is really important in PBS too, in terms of how they fund their programming. And that's similar for us, is that we had a really great grant last year that paid for the Autism and Entertainment conference that we had a year ago. But now we're having to figure out how to pay for all the things that we want to do for you. And so we've instituted membership programs. We have basically 3 different types. One is an individual membership. This would be for somebody who is just exploring their career and their capabilities. You can either do it for $10 a month or $100 for the year. Then for our educational partners, we have 20 educational partners. These are organizations who are focused on delivering the training and education required for somebody to have a career in this space. And so we want them to be a part of this journey because we want them to be very visible to you to help you build your skills. And finally, we just introduced a business membership, which is really competitive at $395 a year. We wanted to make it easy for businesses to join our collaborations. So if you haven't become a member, we invite you to become a member. And one of the perks for members is just different little experiences that we try to make available to our members. So for example, on Tuesday, 3 of our members got to have a tour of DreamWorks Animation Studio, and they had an amazing time. They had our paying members who entered to win, and of the people who entered, 3 of them were selected, and they had an amazing, amazing day. So little things like that. I'm thrilled that Ava Rigelhaupt, who was here previously with Britt and Payne back in the summer as part of the writers webinar that Britt moderated, has agreed to have a 15-minute discussion with one of our members, and Shad Wild was the one selected. So Shad, congratulations. Shad joined Autism and Entertainment in January 28th of this year. And so we will be contacting you offline, Shad, to arrange for that opportunity to talk with Ava. Just wanted to take a moment and introduce Adriano. So Adriano is amazing. He is the vice president of PBS Kids content, and that makes him responsible for the full content library, as well as all the different platforms that his content appears on. He's involved in the strategy and determining audience needs. He's responsible for the talents, building relationships with producers and partners, and supporting the development of different kinds of approaches. So we're really excited to have him here. He is a very experienced veteran with over 20 years experience. A lot of that came from the Latin America and US Hispanic market, where he worked at Warner Brothers Discovery. So producing some preschool age content, both non-fiction, live action, animation, etc. And he also worked for HBO Brazil. He has an MFA in screenwriting, and where he went to University of Miami, and a bachelor's degree in business. Oh, I'm going to try. Fund the cacao.
No need. Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. This is more than my mom will be so proud that you went through
Okay, but welcome,
all of
welcome,
that.
Adriano. And I will bring up your panel as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Judith, and thank you, everyone. So what I would like you all to know is that I've been at PBS for 3 years now, close to 3 years. I've been working with kids content for more than 20 years. And then, there's a lot of what I do that is Judith's words describe. But mostly, I love working with creators and folks, as you are going to meet in this panel today. So that is always the best part of my day. And so it's the best part of my day today is just being with you here on this panel. Thank you. We're super excited to be talking to you about Carl the Collector. It's, as Judy said, it's a new PBS Kids show for kids 4 to 8. It premiered exactly 22 weeks and 3 days ago. Carl likes to be precise, so we're going to be precise on his behalf. So this series, Carl the Collector, stars Carl, who's a warm-hearted raccoon who loves collecting things. He has a great vocabulary and a laser-like focus on things that he's interested in accomplishing. He's autistic, and this is the first PBS Kids series to center on the main character who's on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum. We wanted to make sure you saw not only what this new show is all about, but also how it was made. The authenticity, the thoughtfulness, and the vision for how it lives beyond the screen. And that's why, I'm mostly going to shut up and ask questions, and I'm going to hear from these other people in the panel. So joining us today to share more about the show, I'm pleased to welcome Zach O'Hora, the creator of Carl the Collector, Lisa Whittick, the series director, and Ava Rigelhaupt, actor, writer, consultant, and advocate, who is a writer on Carl the Collector. So let's jump right in if everyone is on board. I want to first start, and then I'll toss a question to Zach. Tell us the story behind Carl the Collector. What was the genesis for the character and for the show?
Yeah, thank you. Carl the Collector came about. My background is in picture books. I write and illustrate picture books, and I'm also obsessed with raccoons, so I'm always drawing raccoons. I'm a collector, and so I came up with this character initially called Carl the Collector. I like to collect things. And at the same time, both my kids, I have 2 kids who are now in high school, but at the time they were starting school. I do a lot of school visits, but their school system was very different from a lot of schools I visited. And they have an inclusion school model, which means that everybody in the school district has the same access to the teacher, the classroom, socialization, no matter what their needs were. So they have kids that have aides in their class, or different concessions or whatever they need to get through the school day. But at the same time, everyone's in the same space, sharing the space and getting to know each other. And what I noticed was that my kids, they just were friends with everybody, and they didn't, they didn't separate anybody out because of, whatever their needs were. I was really struck by that, how different that was from when I grew up. And I realized that, exposure to the full spectrum of humanity for all kids at a young age, especially at this age when you're starting school, is key to helping us all understand each other and taking away the stigma from things like autism.
Thank you, Zach. So I think that I want to toss the next one to Lisa, who's the director. So that's the funnest job in the series. But and then for this audience, the autism and entertainment audience, I want you to talk about a specific aspect of the production of the series, which is how did you go about casting for the characters, in particular, also if you can mention your stake in the series as well.
Yeah. Sorry. I've got my laptop on there. Hopefully I didn't disturb anybody too much. So my just a bit about me. My son, who is now, he's turning 20 this year. I can't believe it. He is autistic. And so leading up to this series, obviously I had a lot of experience parenting him, helping him with his challenges, but also learning about the autism community and being part of the autism community. We got kind of connected to a center, a children's center near my home that helped us out with resources and teaching us what we needed to know about autism. And that was super helpful for me as a parent. When it came to finding the voices for Carl, we did reach out in the typical manner by reaching out to agents, trying to do a, like your auditions and that type of thing through talent agencies. And we were very specific. We needed to have autistic children to play the autistic characters. That was like, PBS was very adamant about that. And we all, of course, agreed, because you can't portray someone who isn't authentic. So we got a few auditions, but none of them really quite fit for Carl. We weren't totally sold. So I suggested maybe we reach out to the children's center that I belong to through my son. And why don't we just put out an open call to the parents and children to see if maybe some non-actor children fit the Carl voice. And so we did that through a closed group on Facebook that I belong to with that center. And we got dozens and dozens of auditions, and they were all really, really wonderful. And even just the audition process for the parents, they said it was just so much fun, and the kids had such a great time doing it because it was something, really unique and different. And it was through that process that we ended up finding Kai, who plays Carl, and we found Maddie, who plays Lotta, our female autistic character. And we also found quite a few of our incidental characters through that same group as well. So these kids had no acting experience whatsoever. And then through the course of this season, they've just grown into these amazing little actors. So that was really, really cool for us.
Thank you, Lisa. So now let's kind of not move on, but then move to a different aspect of the production. Let's talk about the writing, and then we have one of the writers for the series here, Ava. Could you tell us about how you came to write on the series?
Yeah, hello. First, thank you all for having me. I want to point out Zach and I know it's like hard on Zoom, are both wearing our Carl the Collector shirt. Mine's Lotta. I'm gonna like angle it down really weirdly for a second. Yeah, Zach presented this at a press event, but you can't see anything on Zoom. Oh, now you can see it a little better. And so yeah, I'm Ava Rigelhaupt. And I came to the show just about, I think, about 2 years ago. And it came through a recommendation of another really amazing project that I worked on. And, she was in the autism and entertainment space, not this exact organization, but people hear things through the grapevine, because being an autistic person and then being someone who's interested in writing and the entertainment industry is super niche. It's getting bigger, but still niche. And so they heard that PBS was looking for autistic writers. And so this was like 2022 or something. I remember actually, I was in Syracuse, New York for the world premiere of How to Dance in Ohio, which is a really neat neurodiverse coming of age musical I worked on that went to Broadway. And so during that time at the hotel room, I submitted my stuff. And a couple months later, just about at the end of that year or something, I got back. I heard from Zach and I think one of the producers, Caroline Vanderlick, that, Carl the Collector was finally greenlit. And it was really neat. This is my first really big TV writing job. I've written a couple things for 9 Story Media that does kids shows as well. And similar to what Lisa just said, I heard and was talking to the team. And once I heard more things about how like dedicated this team was to, of course, hiring autistic writers, consultants that we have, and from the get-go, like casting authentically, which seems like a no-brainer, but is actually first step very rare. One of the first steps, I knew that this was going to be a good team.
No, that's great, Ava. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to get us now a little bit more familiar with the series. I'm sure that everyone here has seen one or other episodes, maybe all of them, but there's one particular episode that I think it's great for us to showcase, and it's called The Fall. This was written by Ava, and in that episode, Carl shares with his friends that he's autistic. So it's a big moment for the whole group, for the series, and for Carl. So I want to walk through it with you all and with the help of the folks here in the panel. But first, let's take a look at the top of the episode. So Judy, if you can play that clip, I would appreciate.
Yes, it's Carl, the collector. It's Carl, absolutely.
Yay, I forgot. This was the clip that we're going to play before, but it's always great to hear the open. So can you play the second clip now? That's from the fall episode. I love that open. Thank you for sharing. Always good.
My kite is flying well here into the troposphere, but I wonder if it can make it up to the stratosphere. Whee! Whoa! Ow! Ow! Whoa! Oh no, Nico's hurt. What do I do? Nico? Carl! Didn't you see me fall? Nico, are you okay? Carl, what happened? Come on, Carl. Think. Oh, you're bleeding. Let's go home and get a bandage.
Thank you, Judith. Big drama. So, Zach, tell us a little bit of how we landed here. This is not what the first episode, so it's like further down the series. But then there was I think, a concerted decision that we wanted to tell the story. If you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, obviously this is a hugely important moment in the whole season, and Ava did an amazing job writing it, and it's a really great example of like one of the most important episodes, one that we couldn't have gotten at without having an authentic person and writer like Ava on the show. Like it all came together like perfectly. And to be honest, when we started out, I kind of was hesitant about, I don't want to be preachy about talking about Carl's autism in a way. I just wanted to be like, hey, these are what people are, these are who they are, and anybody seeing it, whether they're neurotypical or neurodiverse, would recognize themselves or they're a loved one in it or whatever. And it would just be kind of like, this is the world around you, and these are all the different types of people that you're going to come into contact with. But the more we talked about it and we did some testing and stuff, we realized that it was actually really important to sort of have this statement and be clear that this is what's going on with Carl, and other characters too that got added to that. But I mean, the main thing about this show is not just about autism, but it's also about a group of friends, and it's about self-identity. And obviously, having a diagnosis of autism, it's part of that self-identity, and that can be a lot of different things. And families handle that in different ways. Like some families may choose to not disclose it, some will disclose it right away, you know. So it is, you know, it's obviously like a hugely sensitive topic, but one that's like important to share, just to like provide a model of one way to go about it, and to like help viewers even understand more, you know, what Carl is all about and his family is all about.
And that's great. It came out great. But then the story that we all wanted to tell, well, it really depended on Ava. So I want to hear from Ava now. If you could talk to us about writing this episode, where the idea came from, and you know, if you want to share also your personal story and how it connects with the episode.
Yeah. So I was thinking about, if I asked the team if there was going to be a way, because I read the pilot episode, of course, that I think was written by Zach and another amazing writer, Samantha Berger. And I was wondering if there was going to be an episode where they tell the audience more or less that Carl is autistic. I have seen shows, as Zach mentioned, that don't mention autism. A handful of them are like, they take place in like the 80s or the 50s, when autism wasn't that much understood. So, you know, they would just be like, that's just, you know, your cousin, he just might be a little weird, or loves collecting things a little bit more than the average typical kid. Nevertheless, I thought that in this day and age, especially for younger kids that might not know all these different words floating around the world, that they might wonder why Carl might be doing some stuff that is a little bit different than them, even as like a character that's an anthropomorphic animal. And they don't always tune in, you know, the age range for Carl the Collector that maxes out about 8 years old. But I think any age can enjoy it. But don't always read the New York Times, come to these panels. So they might not know, or even be on social media, that we were really open about it, which is great, but they might not know that. They just might be tuning in. So I thought it was important to share that, and also give kids, possibly kids and families, a way to help people disclose if they wish to disclose to anyone or their friends. I always say disclosure can be a whole hour panel in and of itself, especially people that often have what are sometimes called non-visible disabilities, which autism is categorized as. Oftentimes you can't tell from just the first look. And so this episode came from a real life experience that I had. Similarly, although I was diagnosed later on the autism spectrum when I was 18 years old, so unlike Carl, I didn't know that I was autistic, though I similarly felt different, but didn't know why. And so one day, I think it was around the house, but my mom fell. And I didn't know what to do. Similarly to Carl, you know, I racked my brain about what to do. I thought about all the different like books that I read and different things like that. But no book really tells you what to do when someone you care about falls. Even my etiquette books, I was looking back, you're like, there were some signs. I had like these vintage etiquette books, you know, from like Emily Post and stuff. Because, you know, I explain autism as sometimes feeling like there is a social skills rule book that everyone read, except for me, but I was still expected to take the test. And so my mom felt really hurt, similarly to Nico, because I didn't show in a more typical manner that I cared. I just kind of froze about it. Actually, another funny comedian, Amy Schumer, had a similar thing that her husband said, that she fell and her husband also just stood there, because sometimes, especially in new situations that can be heightened, autistic people often need more like tangible rules on what to do in these different social situations. They struggle sometimes to learn things through osmosis, through just watching other people maybe run to someone who fell down. And so similar in the episode later on, Carl's friends help him. on what to do in the future should someone fall down, anyone, not just Nico. And so I wanted to show this. It was really close to my heart, still talking about that situation. I sometimes still get emotional because it was a big kind of showing, even though my mom and I were super close, still close, there still was a gap in communication, in understanding each other. What's it called? Like misunderstood, and inadvertently hurting someone's feelings, feelings that got hurt inadvertently through those miscommunications. And I had an inkling other autistic people might find themselves in similar situations with their friends, whether they're aware of it or not. So just to show those situations in a child-friendly manner was really fun and complex to write.
Yeah, complex. Yeah. So now I think that we're gonna watch the resolution was something that happens later in that episode, and I want Zach to set us up. I think that we're gonna show something really cool that we do in the series. So Zach, if you can explain that a little bit.
Yeah. Before I explain where we're going to go, which is an interesting place, but I just want to say that like one thing that I found really profound and helped me understand, the autistic mind, that Ava explained in that fall scenario that you told us that like, even though you learned what to do in that scenario, if there were other factors that were different, you kind of had to like relearn it again. You not making that jump. You're like, okay, if someone fell, this is what you do. But like, if someone fell in a different place, that you would still follow through with that thing. And that was like, that really stuck with me. And I was like, oh, well, that makes me really understand, on one level of like what an autistic person might be having to process in any given situation. So what we're going to see is something a lot of this show is really about sort of like the inside of people's brains and how they work and how they're different. And we're trying to come up with a visual situation where we could see inside of Carl's head. And Lisa and I worked really close back and forth on this concept and trying to figure out, well, what would this look like on the screen that would be interesting and fun and, not too weird or not too like, biologically creepy or anything like that. But we do go into a place that we end up calling Synapse Junction. And it's based on actual like synapse designs that our brains all have, and it's the perfect place for Carl to pop into, and he collects his thoughts there. And I think we're going to see a clip where he collects his thoughts and they'll pop up in the synapse and they'll go down to one of his collection jars as he processes how to navigate the situation. And it's how he can recall some of the things that that he's thought of before or that his mom has taught him in a really fun visual way.
Remember, breathe, give Nico time to think about what you're saying and time to respond.
Hello? Carl? Ahem. I did want to help you, Nico. I do want to help. I was so scared when you fell, but I didn't know what to do.
Why not? How could you not know what to do?
You see, my brain works differently than some kids. I'm really great at remembering facts about my collections and birthdays. But sometimes it takes me longer to understand what others are thinking and feeling about stuff, and what to do in these situations. This is because I'm autistic.
Autistic.
Yes, my brain works differently than yours. Sometimes it takes me a little longer to understand new stuff. I hope this helps you understand what happened a little better.
It does. Thanks for telling me. I kind of get it now.
I'm glad you told her, buddy.
Yeah, Carl, that's actually pretty cool. And now I know you better too.
Do you forgive me, Nico?
Of course I do. And I wanted to say I'm sorry too.
You do?
Yes. I was so confused and angry that it was hard for me to listen to you. And the fall kind of scared me. I just wanted you to help me.
Like how? I'll give you some time to collect your thoughts.
Thanks. But I don't really know. It's hard to explain.
Maybe go over to Nico right after she falls. Ask if she's okay.
Give her a hand to get up.
Ask if they're okay. Help them get up.
Thanks.
I'll do those things next time, Nico.
I'll try not to get so mad that it gets in the way of us talking things out. So, what do you say? Friends again?
Yes.
I also wanted to say too, and I have no reason for this, but I wanted to have like this really tight color palette throughout the series, and it doesn't include the color red. But this one episode is the only place that there's red in the entire series because it's so important with Arugula's knee, or Nico's knee rather, having a red spot. So important episode for the season, breaking all the rules.
Yeah, no, thank you. One of the many aspects that I love about this episode is like it's a tiny detail that when Nico is considering Carl's words, that she kind of kicks the dirt with her sneaker, just like she does that little move, and I think that connects with what we're gonna talk about now, is just like that attention to detail on the animation of the characters, and I'm sure that folks here in the audience have paid attention, have noticed some of those things. So, but now I want to kind of introduce another character that wasn't in this episode, that wasn't in these clips that we just watched, and that character is Lotta the Fox. So Carl isn't the only character in the series that is in the autism spectrum. I think that for folks that have seen the series already and have seen the characters, she is on the spectrum, but we don't talk about that. Only Carl and the audience knows that she is. So that's one of the aspects where these two characters differ, but there are many other aspects. So I wanted to ask Lisa if you can talk a little bit about how these two characters were developed in parallel. What were you paying attention to in order to make each one unique?
Yeah, so as always, we took a lot of advice from our advisors that we have on the show, who either work with children who are autistic or who are autistic themselves. And that really helped. We actually came up with a list like, okay, Carl's autism looks like this, and Lotta's autism looks like this. And if we had 10 other characters, we'd have 10 more columns of different personalities. So that was really important to make sure that the animators knew how to handle Lotta versus Carl. When you're working in animation, it's all individual artists that make up the team, but we have to make a cohesive show in the end. Everything has to look like it works together and belongs to the same thing. So it was really important for us to be able to convey that to the animators that, this is what Carl does, and just because Carl does this doesn't mean Lotta does that just because she's autistic. So that was the first step, is just kind of coming up with what autism looks like for both of them. For example, stimming. We obviously wanted to show stimming in both of the characters. Carl's stims tend to look like, maybe in that clip that you saw just now, you saw his little fingers wiggling, or when he gets very excited, he might, shake his arms up and down a little bit. When he's anxious or nervous, he may rub his hands together and pace, things like that. Lotta, on the other hand, she is able to mask her autism a little bit better than Carl can, which tends to be typical in autistic girls. So she will often echo her friends. You'll hear her kind of saying the same things as her friends say to try and blend in. She does have a few stims that we also show, which for her, she loves texture and fuzzy things. So she likes to grab her tail almost like a blanket, like her little blankie, and she will twirl the tip of her tail the way that a child might twirl their hair. So that's one of her little stims. And we've also recently added a stim of her biting her nails, which for these characters is a bit of a challenge because they don't actually have fingers if you look very closely. When they're just normally doing things, their fingers are like little mittens, but it's not until they stim that their fingers kind of pop out, possibly, or sometimes when they're counting, we'll have their fingers pop out as well. But when Lotta is biting her nails, she'll just take out her one finger, and you'll see her kind of doing that with her finger. So those are all things that we were thinking about with physical, how autism looked physically with these characters. But another way that they differentiate is with taste and smell. These are all things that we've incorporated into some of the shows. Carl really likes strong smells, whereas Lotta is very turned off by them. Carl is okay with sound, but Lotta is very sensitive to sound. She has her headphones. And she also has synesthesia. So when she hears musical notes, she can actually associate those notes with colors visually. So we've actually found ways in the show to show that to the audience as well, which it was a bit of a challenge to figure out how to relay that to the audience. But I think that the payoff is huge. Like it's really interesting to see that people can do that. I didn't even know that when I first started the show. So that was pretty cool. And as Zach kind of alluded to a few minutes ago, one of the biggest things is disclosure. So Carl disclosed his autism in the episode The Fall, but we have an episode called A Whole Lotta Lotta, where, Lotta is having a hard time at school because she's feeling like people just call her the headphone girl. They don't really understand her. And Carl kind of says, well, why don't you make a collection about yourself and, show them what you're all about. And so she, during the course of creating this collection of herself, she tells Carl that she's autistic, but she's not comfortable telling everybody else yet. She just wants to keep it between the two of them. And, it's important for the audience to know that it's up to them when they choose to disclose and how they want to disclose. And I think, that was another really important moment, I think, for us to touch on as well.
No, that's amazing, Lisa. Thank you. I love the episode where we show synesthesia. I think it came out great. So I hope everyone checks it out. Ava, how was writing for Lotta as opposed to writing for Carl? I mean, how important it was for you to be able to then write a female character on the spectrum?
Yeah. It was really neat, and it was really neat to hear that from the get-go the team was thinking about having a female autistic character, autism representation is growing, but still unfortunately rare in entertainment, and having females on the spectrum is still a little bit rarer. And so for Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month to be aware that autism affects can affect everyone, and it's not just boys that get autism. And so it was really neat to think about the differences, and the columns that the team already came up with when I joined were really helpful to think about the differences between Carl and Lotta. Since I'm a girl on the spectrum, I leaned a little bit also even to Dr. Stephen Shore, our autistic advocate and consultant on the show, since he has been a young autistic boy. And just in general, how I leaned on, I don't always spend time around 4 and 6-year-olds. So just leaning on how 4 and 6-year-olds react. I started watching my cousin more when we would visit her. She's 7 years old. And so to see, especially in scenes when Carl and Lotta are together or separately, how they might react to different things, as you mentioned, the smells and just their different interests, and to always have them, stay nuanced and interesting and true to themselves, and also interesting that Lotta loves music, but at the same time is very sensitive to noise, so possibly because she's very good at music, her ears are more sensitive to other sounds that aren't as pleasant. And so what they need and how their friends interact with them, I think there might be a couple episodes when friends, I don't even know if it's Carl, but they assume that something that one friend needed, Lotta would also need, and that's not the truth. Which is also helpful for anyone, regardless, that just what one person needs doesn't necessarily mean the other person needs that, autistic or not. I didn't write that article, that script, but it is a really important message as well, message to show how different autistic people go throughout the world, and different people in general.
Thank you, Ava. So the world of Fuzzytown goes beyond just episodes. There are also games, and educator materials and resources, parent and caregiver activities, and station materials to help Carl and his friends reach kids across the country, usually through our PBS stations. So the series has been getting an amazing response from not just our audience of kids and viewers like you, but also families and folks involved in the autism community all around the country. Even before the premiere, as we started to show the character and all the work that went into the series, we got reactions from employees, from various stations, internal, like from PBS or from various stations. They wanted to help. They wanted to be involved. So after the launch, that's when we really started seeing the impact. And I want to now show you a testimonial that comes from Austin, our Austin PBS station. So Judith, you can play, I think it's our last clip.
Okay, so tell me the story about how you hurt your head. What happened?
I cut it.
You cut it.
Above the eyebrow.
It was really bad.
Then we got in the car and we explained what was going to happen. That's when he started getting nervous, going to the emergency room, right? The doctor was working on his forehead and he had just completely stopped answering everyone's questions at that point. I was laying completely still with his arms by his side and his eyes were closed. And we were like, dude, what are you doing? And he said, I'm doing my belly breaths. We were kind of like, belly breaths? What? He was like, I'm doing my Carl the Collector breathing. I just thought it was amazing that he self-initiated that calming mechanism.
It's okay, Carl. Mama would say, take some belly breaths. Breathe in for 4. Hold it. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out.
I love this so much. Thank you, Judith. So as we wrap up, do you, for the panelists, do you, each one of you want to share any of your favorite stories for a viewer reaction, something that you heard, something someone told you that they came to you? I'm sure that you've been impacted by any stories. So I want to sort of go around, and then I have folks here on my screen. I will start with Lisa, if I may. Just like something that you heard of folks that have been positively impacted by this series.
Sure. So I'm going to talk about a personal connection to the show, and that comes back to the voice actors that we have. You know, we plucked them out of the community that I belong to, and I just last week I heard that one of our actors has been approached by a voice talent agent who would like to possibly hire them for more work. You know, hearing that as a parent of an autistic child who, you know, when he was young and before he really found his way and convinced, you know, showed us what his passions were, we didn't know what his future looked like as far as a career, and whether or not he could support himself as an adult. And to know that we worked on a show that has given all of these writers, actors, artists, all these autistic people a chance to tell their stories, and also a chance for a meaningful career, it means like, it's beyond words to me. It's just so wonderful. So that's a real beautiful connection that I have to share. And I hope it keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that for the viewers too, because now a lot of viewers are recognizing themselves on screen, and then they're saying, so all of these things that are going on in terms of, you know, their everyday experiences, it's going to impact them as well.
Absolutely.
So Ava, if you want to talk, you know, share with us your the feedback, like what have you heard that has impacted you?
Yeah. I was really excited when I heard, Lisa, that the team wanted Kai too. The casting director contacted me. She ended up knowing Caroline Vanderlick quite closely, but she didn't know Caroline was signed onto the show. So she's an amazing casting director in New York that does mainly casting people of all ages, but she started with kids with Nickelodeon, so people with disabilities. And yeah, to see the show and hope that so many things flowed through my mind when Lisa was talking, so now I'm kind of lost my train of thought. But one, my like 7-year-old cousin, she's not autistic. She really loved the show. We wanted to show her, of course, a couple episodes that I wrote, and we thought, she loses attention quite quickly, as young kids do. But she wanted to continue watching the show, and she really loved it. She loved one of the episodes with Lotta and a unicorn, and a couple other funny episodes, I think with like Pizza Pyramid, and I think she was just really raptured by the series. And that shows that, young kids are really enjoying it, and they're enjoying all the characters. And I think it's also really exciting, of course, as Lisa mentioned, to hear about how the show is giving more agency and jobs and representation to all different types of autistic people of all ages. We're all here, and we all know that it's tough as we sing in How to Dance in Ohio. The world isn't designed for people with disabilities, people on the autism spectrum, and to get jobs. And so the fact that this show is propelling more nuanced representation for kids to see themselves and see, like, I can be like Carl, and eventually find my niche and friends that really support me is really incredible.
Thank you, Ava. Zach.
I've heard so many stories from families, and in the same day, I think I got messages from one family. It was a mom who told me I forget it, I think it was their daughter, who is like maybe 6 and who was watching Carl and who had just been diagnosed as autistic, and they hadn't told her yet, and were trying to, like, kind of struggling on how to go about it. And she was watching Carl, and she came to them and was like, there's a lot I understand about Carl, and I think that I might be autistic or whatever. And they're like, actually, and they were able to have that conversation because of watching Carl. And it was like such an easy, positive experience for all of them. It was very touching. Literally, I think the same day, I got a note from a 41-year-old guy who's a musician, who's a drummer, who had just been diagnosed in the past year and had seen the show and loved the show. And, just said he just wished that the show was around when he was a kid. And it made so many things about his life like make more sense. And we started talking, and I kind of recognized his name, and I was like, hey, were you playing in a band at this place like in Philadelphia a year ago? Because I remember that being an amazing drummer. And he was like, yeah, that was me, which is like such a small world, like amazing thing. So it's really cool that it's like, obviously we're impacting kids and positively and their families, but it can be anybody of any age from any background. And it's really, like all the years that have gone into making the show, it makes it really worth it when you hear those stories.
Well,
Thank you, Zach. Judith, yes, please.
oh, sure. Thank you so much. Did you want to wrap up, or do you want me to ask for questions before?
Oh, yeah, no, I know that there's some people that who want to ask questions. We're here for that, so let's do that.
Terrific. So if you raise your hand, I will call on you. Just a sec.
I saw David had question.
Okay, why don't we call on David then? Thank you.
Yeah, it's me, David Garcia, one of the clients from Tierra del Sol, who's with Coach David Saunders. And I have 3 questions. One of them is about what does it take to make this kind of show? Does it take effort, and does it also require us to use special types of computerized or technological apps like Adobe Photoshop, Autodesk Maya?
Yeah, I'll let
the
Lisa
animators.
answer the technology. Oh, do you want to ask all of your questions first and then we answer?
I'll ask all the questions and then answer. Actually, I want to answer or ask one question at a time. Is that okay?
Sure. Yes. Lisa, do you want to take the technology question?
Yeah, of
thank
course. Yeah. So so we do have some pretty significant computers at our workstations. We use Photoshop to create a lot of the beautiful backgrounds that you see. But anything that has to move, like a prop or a character, that has to go through a program that we use called Harmony. And our storyboard artists use it's called Toon Boom Storyboard Pro. And all of those programs kind of work together. They're from the same suite of software, so they kind of work nicely together. But yeah, we just use our digital pens like this, and I've got my giant, great big tablet here, and we just draw everything right on there. So yeah.
And another question that I want to ask you is this: does the studio or whatever that place you guys were working to make the show require people or hire people mostly with PIP or paid internship programs that work part-time, where any kind of cost does not matter to each of the employers, right, David?
Right. It's a paid, the Tierra del Sol pays for the internship.
Yeah.
And people are provided with a coach as well. And yeah, it's called the PIP, the Paid Internship Program.
Yeah, so Adriano, they're describing one of the programs here in California that's offered to regional center clients. And it's probably a little bit much for Adriano to process it now, but maybe we can get a meeting afterwards and we can go over the program. But David, thank you for bringing it up. And I hope we can use this as an opportunity to discuss it further. David, you said you had 3 questions. Do you mind if we went to some of the other people whose hands are up just to give them a chance?
All right, then the last question I want to ask you finally is, do you guys work every day or just every day a week instead of weekends? Do you guys work all day or just every day a week?
I can speak for myself, and I work Monday to Friday, normal work hours usually, but sometimes during the production, things get a little bit busy and a little bit hairy, and we're working weekends, we're working nights, but we all believe in this show so much, it's worth it. So
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, Nicholas Robinson, you want to ask your question, please?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Nicholas Robinson, and I'm really impressed of the show of Carl the Collector. You guys did a really good job connecting people with autism. And the question I want to ask you guys is, what's your advice for writers like me who want to connect not just people with autism, but everyone else in the world?
It's a good question. Actually, Ava might be able to speak to this more than I could, but there's definitely groups that get writers together and do training and writing workshops and stuff, right, Ava?
Yeah, it's definitely, okay, I'm not a sports person, so once I get this wrong, it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint, to get into this entertainment industry. And all of my jobs that I've gotten thus far have came from recommendations and people that just knew about these niche, these niche callings. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adriana, I do not think that PBS put out a call for writers even in general for this show, unlike LinkedIn or Indeed or yeah. So writer things are not often put on. They are sometimes through agents. I don't have an agent yet, but like through people, you know, if they do an open call for casting or if they do an open call for writers, or they'll tell people in like what Lisa did for underrepresented talent, people who just want to get started or get their feet wet, they'll tell organizations and groups like what Lisa did to find Kai and other actors, and similarly for writers. And there's a handful of cool organizations like this one. Another one that's based in like DC, but also Los Angeles is Disability Belongs. They're formerly known as Respectability. I can put their website in the chat. And they have various programs for writers of different levels. Not levels of autism, if there's any confusion, levels of how much staffing you've had and what your interests are. And so there's various different ways, and it's just, you know, as a writer, unlike as an actor, I'm both. You can just write. You can just sit down with your pen or with your computer and write in practice and read other people's writings, look up scripts that have been, you know, old friends' scripts are now online and stuff. So practice your craft. So when people come to you, you're ready. And you're the as yeah and so that's my
and there was one
advice.
Yeah, and I wanted to add too, Nicholas, that you know, two of our partners hold writers fellowships, and those are things that you can pay attention. You can pay attention to, and then enroll, and then you go through a training program, and then these two partners are Sesame Workshop, who does Sesame Street, of course, and Fred Rogers Production, who use like, you know, the home of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. So they will send out a call to enroll in those fellowships, and they are always great opportunities.
Thank you, Adriano, and thank you, Nicholas. Amisha, would you like to ask your question?
Sure, yeah. I'm Misha. I'm actually based in Vancouver in Canada. I'm a 3D artist and animator, worked in one or two studios in the past, but just putting myself out there as asking as to with this production, like how you have been getting the supports, and in terms of like, yeah, like because the animation and games industry has been in such a tough spot, how you can also help advocate for employment in the industry for people on the spectrum, because I think it's extremely important that we do get recognized and not, you know, criticized for being misunderstood. Because I'll just quickly say there has been times where I worked at a studio and they called me out for insubordination and going over people's heads, when in reality, all I wanted to do was showcase that I could be a leader and have the self-independence. But it's so hard to be independent versus codependent, and it's like it gets extremely confusing. But in regards to the animation, also, how do you convey other types of like, you know, autism towards like maybe, because I think it would be really great if this production could also showcase the autism in adults, not just kids, and how growing up we have so much more challenges and uphill battles we have to face. So that's just what I'm putting out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Misha. I think that's a great point. But go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a great point, and it's definitely something that we talk about and are thinking about. We have a number of side characters already in the show that are voiced by autistic characters that don't have larger parts yet, but we're leaving it open, you know, to show neurodiverse people of every age, you know, and maybe even, you know, undiagnosed adults, you know, that, you know, if you are an undiagnosed adult watching the show, that you'll recognize that, you know, in that character, that's what's going on there. So definitely, like, the further we get into it, the more expansive types of characters that can show the whole spectrum, we're gonna get in there wherever we can. So that's a great idea, and it's definitely something that we're thinking about. Thank you.
So it's thank you, Zach. It's a few minutes past the hour. Do you want to go a little longer, Adriano, or should we tie this all up?
see that Ryan has been very patient. Maybe you can get his question.
Okay, well, that'll be our last question. Ryan.
That's just Ryan waving goodbye.
No.
Okay, no, I'm here.
Okay, terrific. Sometimes it takes us a minute to get off mute. Hi, Ryan.
Yeah, hi. Just wanted to ask a few things. Like, was Carl's personality ever inspired by like how actual raccoons act? Because
that's a good question.
Because we all know how unfairly mistreated raccoons can be.
That's true. People call them trash pandas.
Yeah.
I feel about that. I love raccoons.
Me too. I love foxes as well.
Foxes I'm a big fan of foxes too.
Yeah, but is he inspired by the whole thing that raccoons pick from trash and then you took in like made it instead like into a collector or something?
Exactly. Yeah, my initial thought was that Carl would, would be collecting things from trash or from everywhere. And also, like I had in my mind, I was playing off that he would be a little OCD, like how I don't even know if it's true if like raccoons really wash their hands or their food.
Yeah. I don't know either. Yeah,
I think it's probably not true, but when I originally came up with the character, that's something that I had in mind, and so you're spot on with like that sort of was like the beginning germination of
and
Carl that we know.
Yeah, and how would you compare and contrast him to other fictional raccoons like Rigby, RJ, or
I love Rigby.
Or that's I think the only two I can think of right now.
I didn't I didn't consciously try to play off of any existing raccoon characters, although I love Rigby very much. But I whenever I create characters for books or for TV or whatever, like I'm always trying to make them as unique as possible. I don't really have that in my mind, other than if anything, I try to think of like, okay, don't do this other thing because it's already been done. That would be as far as I would go with that.
Yeah, and in general, I guess Carl's personality would really clash a lot with Rigby.
Yeah, I don't know if they would be exactly the same universe, but I think they get along. But
yeah, and the last one, have you ever considered introducing a character with ADHD? Because, well, that would be cool.
We actually have a character with ADHD. If you watched Forrest the squirrel, has ADHD.
I didn't know that.
He also has a nut allergy, which if you're in your family eats nuts, that could be tough. But fortunately, we have a good pizza place in.
That's why I like how you broke different animal stereotypes.
Yeah, we're all about breaking stereotypes at Carl the Collector.
Yeah, because I especially get offended when people stereotype disabilities.
Yeah, we are definitely about the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
You're
Those
welcome.
were great questions.
They were great. Thank you.
Shall we let Gina? Gina, you said you had a question, but couldn't find a way to put your hand up. So if you want to ask her a question, I think that could be the last one, Judith. I'm sorry.
No problem. Gina.
Hi, I'm not sure if you guys are able to hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you fine, Gina. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you so much. I have just literally sat here and cried good tears. I'm just blown away by the wonderful work and the individuals doing it. I hear you. My question is, because it's such a sensitive topic, and I haven't really caught a lot of the episodes just yet, but do you see where maybe a meltdown would actually be something that could be showcased in the cartoon? Because it happens so often, at least with my son, whether it's at the grocery market, sometimes the playground. I'm just curious. And Ava, you're a wonderful writer. I think it would probably take a unique approach to do something like that. But so many parents like myself are so, I don't know, offended often, how we handle these meltdowns. I haven't seen anything like that in a cartoon, and I think that'd be pretty cool. Just curious.
We actually have an episode called The Meltdown.
Awesome.
that Lisa wrote.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to check it out. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, Adriano, Zach, Ava, Lisa, thank you so much for spending this hour with us and for your wonderful work and making yourself available to our community. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. It's great.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
you.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, hope it was productive. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you all for all of your lovely, lovely comments and reactions
Thanks.
on the chat.
Great
Hopefully,
questions.
Yes.
yeah,
And thank you for watching Carl.
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. One last quick question. Where can we actually find this cartoon, like if we wanted to share it with others?
Oh,
Right.
thank you for the question. It's PBS Kids, PBS Kids. So PBS Kids, you can watch it either in the mornings on the your local PBS station. We also have a broadcast channel, PBS Kids 24/7, which is free. You can watch videos on the website, pbskids.org. Or you can download two apps. There's one app for games and one app for video, and then you can watch Carl the Collector, episodes of Carl the Collector on the video app, and then you can play awesome games, Carl the Collector games on the games app.
Yeah.
And if you're in Canada, you can also catch it on the Knowledge Network. It's knowledgenetwork.ca as well.
Yes, because you're in Vancouver. Yes, so Knowledge TV got that, so I really appreciative. Thank you so much, Lisa, because a lot of what I said did not apply to you being in Vancouver. Sorry, you probably
And,
knew that, Zach.
YouTube and Amazon too, right? I think might be.
Carl's getting out there, so yeah, shouldn't be too hard to find. Yeah.
But Canada, I think the best bet is Knowledge TV for sure. We love them. Yeah, such a great place. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I just wanted, this is a big month. There's a lot going on, and I wanted to make sure that you visited Autism and Entertainment, the website. And if you go and look at our calendar, you can see that there's a lot going on this month. There's just a lot of events, so be sure and check it out. And our next webinar, I'm excited, is in May. And it's going to be with Kyle Boyd, who's an animation manager at Disney. And he's going to be discussing portfolio basics. So kind of how to make your portfolio stand out. So invite you to that. We'll have our newsletter coming out in the next week or so. So there'll be a lot of great information there. But thank you so much, Adriano, Zach, Ava, and Lisa. Great hour, and thank you all for attending. So take care until next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.